The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 521. Mr. Somich.
Fresh off the plane. Huzzah!
Yeah. So, we're sorry if you were waiting for us at our usual time. Mike was traveling back from Vegas today, and he made it in under the wire. Mike landed at 2:30 Pacific time, and he was here at 2:55, a little before 2:55, like on the back end. Mike and I are never on the back end at 2:55 anyway, or 1:55. So the fact that we were both here early, super impressive. So glad to see you, buddy.
Yeah, I'll take things you can't do in Los Angeles for 200 Magic. Get from the airport, like get off your flight at 2:30 and be ready to go for a podcast by 2:55. There's no chance anywhere in Los Angeles.
You're not even, depending where you're at on the plane, you're not even like past that final security point.
Yeah, you zero chance you're in your car by that point.
Yeah, like you're probably just like pulling up at like the Rock and Brews or whatever it's called, and just like pull up the laptop and like get everything ready to go real quick, and it's gonna be super noisy and shitty because you don't have your normal mic. But now you're here, and just in time because one of our fantasy horses did really well, kind of. We'll talk about that, but lots of Derby talk to get into, so I'm glad that you're here for it. And JD Fox says, always tunes in for LA traffic talk. JD also hates the LA traffic whenever he has to be here.
It's a unique beast all in and of itself. The LAX airport is a unique beast in and of itself. Like if you've never had the pleasure of flying into LAX, it is a just absolutely different experience. And yeah, like Shotty felt it for the Breeders' Cup when it was a 2-hour Uber from LAX up towards Santa Anita. In Santa Barbara, it's 5 gates. You land. You literally walk to your car in the long-term extended parking, which is like $12 a day, and it takes you about 5 minutes. And there you are. You're on the road, ready to go.
Yeah, it's Santa Barbara, not that big of an area overall, so not too hard for you to get home. Shotty also, it was a 2-hour Uber for them, but they also did it. They landed right in the middle of rush hour. Like there were a lot of things that they did wrong, and that was definitely one of them. But yeah, like I said, we've got Kentucky Derby. There's one official prep race for us to talk about, one that might as well be a prep race, and then change of command as well. And we're also going to talk about Kopion because, as Rodney's saying, looks like Mandela's got himself another good one. But it is a show that we've seen this episode like on rerun a few different times. So we'll see if Kopion can kind of change things here. But are you ready to get into it, buddy?
I can't wait to hype up some 3-year-olds. Let's go.
Let's get into it. Riders up. All right, Mike, I got to make sure I take this off first. There. Oh, boy. There we go. Much better. The Jerome Stakes, the first one we'll talk about. The winner was the heavy favorite, the rail horse with the gold cap there. That's drum roll, please. Mike, what do you take from this race? There's a lot of things to really kind of consider. Like, Aqueduct is super slow in the winter. It's a 5-horse field. It's ungraded. Where do you start?
Yeah, I mean, let's start with the time. They went a mile 141, which is awful. But like you said, Aqueduct, not exactly a blistering fast track. So I'm not going to take too much away from the horses because of how slow the overall time was. It definitely makes you a little concerned, though. I mean, they went 49 to the half. You can see they're 24.5 to the opening quarter. I think it was like 128 for 7 furlongs, which is very slow. And then they finished in 141. So what I take is the professional effort here. If you're looking for a grinder type horse, I think this is a positive effort there. Not exactly the turn of foot you'd like to see, but once drumroll please did get loose around or in the stretch, you could kind of see him. And it was interesting because our buddy Chris there said it in this call, going through the gears, like slowly gearing up and getting the momentum going here with drumroll please, and able to get to the wire first. And I guess you could say that this is a positive thing for both Dornoch and Sierra Leone, who this horse was beat by 4 lengths in the Remsen last time out. That was going a mile and 1/8, and we saw kind of that closing ability, but then wasn't able to quite sustain it at that distance. So it feels like a good underneath horse in some of these Aqueduct New York prep races, but not one I think is an actual threat to make the Derby, win the Derby, anything like that. But a horse that I think is going to dance all the dances and come in third a lot.
Yeah, he kind of reminded me a little bit of Hit Show, and that was a Brad Cox trainee that you were all over last year and had that kind of a similar style where he didn't explode, but once he got rolling through the gears, it was pretty good. One thing about him too, if I'll pull it back up to about the 8th pole, you're going to see him on the wrong lead until he gets to about the 8th pole, and then that's when he really, like here, he's still on the wrong lead, wrong lead. Bam! Castellano finally gets him to switch, and now he's going to take off on El Grandeo. So again, kind of that it's almost like he stalled, grinding through the gears, and was like, "Oh, there we go. We put it into 5th, and now we're going to pull away." Definitely not a horse you want to play at 3 to 5 when he faces, no offense to this field, good horses, but definitely I think what you nailed it, a good underneath horse, especially when we're going a mile and an eighth. But you were right, you were right about those times though. 1:14 and 4 for 6 furlongs. I think that Muth had already gone past, like, onto the backstretch in 1:14 and 4 in that race that we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah, again, though, like comparing a time, like just a flat time at Aqueduct to a flat time at Santa Anita this time of year is not really fair to Aqueduct horses. Now, this was still a slow race. Let's not, like, El Grandeo was begging to get past in that stretch. I mean, you had the weavies going on, you had the stumble on the action. We were only going a mile here. So, like you said, not too much that was beaten today. We'll see what happens. Again, I think you're going to see drum roll please quite a bit in these New York prep races. And I good candidate to hit the board. The price is going to be the key. Like, I don't really want to be playing drum roll please underneath at 5 to 1. I want to be playing drum roll please underneath at 15, 20 to 1, which is his more likely odds to win the race than hope that it balloons up the try or super.
So Curtis says 1:14 for a 6 furlongs. What is this, Mahoning Valley? Let me put in perspective how slow this time was compared to previous Jeromes. And again, tracks are different each year, blah, blah, blah. 141.91 was the slowest time for the Jerome since 2018, and that was the first time the Jerome was run at the current 1-turn, 1-mile distance. Every time since then, 139 flat, 137 and 1, 138 flat, 138 and 4. Lugan Knight, you remember Lugan Knight last year? 137 and 3 won this race. Like, again, tracks are different, but yeesh, this was not good. Time-wise.
You had a field of 5 older maiden horses go a mile in the next race. They went 141.68. Those were maidens. Just to give you an idea, like they were what, 0.2 something seconds faster here, 0.23 seconds faster, and that was a maiden race that happened afterward. Now it was older horses, so you could say, oh well, that's at least a little good sign. But like this was not the fastest mile on the card either.
No, and not a good one. We can move on from this one because I think it was we kind of covered all of our bases. One that I know Rodney is super excited to talk about because he hasn't stopped talking about it since the show started. We'll move over to the San Vicente Stakes, a Grade 2 race. Now, before we hit play on this, it is kind of weird that the Sham Stakes is gone. That is a Derby prep race, or was a Derby prep race, and then they replaced it with the San Vicente, but they didn't give it the points. I don't know if they caught the Kentucky Derby model off guard, but here's the San Vicente Stakes with Muth. Again, a horse with a lot of class, but Mike, I was a little worried this was going to be a little too short for him, and I think his class got the job done. What did you think?
Yeah, it was interesting to see them deciding to go one turn here, just go the 7 furlong, shorten this horse back up. I think it was a combination of a couple things. I think obviously the class helped, but this is another one where let's talk about what else was in here, right? I mean, the one horse is a Yak Teen second time out, Moonlit Sonata, who we were seeing if it could take a step forward. The 2 Slider was a turf sprinter. The 4 is the other Baffert. The 5 horse is only run on turf. The 6 horse had, like, all the success came on turf. So you essentially have 3 turf horses, and then you have Moonlit Sonata, and then you have the 2 Bafferts. So not much in this race. I think the key here is that Muth gets the job done and is able to rate again. And this is not a perfect trip. You have to go 3 wide around the far turn. Able to get the job done pretty easily here. Still showing some of that early speed, but being able to rate off. Like, kind of feels like it's one of those paid workouts in a lot of ways where if he had lost, I would have been like, okay, this is a problem. The fact that he was able to win by this much kind of doesn't move him up or down in my rankings. It's kind of what I would expect from a horse like this in a spot like this.
Agree with everything you said. The most surprising to me was that he only got a 91 buyer. There wasn't anything super explosive about it. I think as soon as Juan Hernandez got the lead and he knew he had it won, he didn't keep pushing him. very professional, a horse that we've seen do well at 2 turns before, and I think is going to continue to do well at 2 turns. Curtis says, I think Muth beat an okay horse and 3 other horses who will be running in 25K claimers a year from now. A little bit of a stretch, but not that much of a stretch. You nailed it. Pilot Commander probably is going to end up being best at 1 turn, possibly a miler. He was okay, but he kind of ran in place, and he didn't get rid of Slider. And Slider's okay, but Slider's a California turf horse, and so is Voltage. So that's who he beat there. Moonlit Sonata, maybe you give one more chance. This is a horse that was pretty good-looking winner on debut, and then he struggled out of the gate, trailed, and that's not usually a good spot to be when there are 2 Baffert speed horses in the race, but he also didn't really show much of this, and Formidable Man was here hoping to try and pick up a paycheck. So
yeah, I mean, Moonlit Sonata was also 33-1 on debut. So it surprised a lot of people that the horse was able to run as well as it did. Now it comes back here. You got a nice price, still 17-1, but a much better field. Feels again like we just need to get this horse in the right class level, right? Maybe we shouldn't be trying $200,000 stakes races. Maybe we should be trying, the 20 N1X level, somewhere in there where you can actually try and cut your teeth as a 2-year-old or 3-year-old and figure out where you fit. So I wouldn't be shocked if Moonlit Sonata turns out to be a good horse, just not, a Derby-esque horse.
Yeah, and that's okay, right? For the purposes of owning the horse, for the purposes of this talk show, get out of here, Moonlit Sonata. We don't want to talk about you. What we do want to talk about, and maybe we might be only 2, but it's our show, so damn it, you're going to sit here and listen. We're going to go to Gulfstream on Friday, race number 7, change of command. Look at this break. Number 3, he's right out of the gate. He's going to stalk perfectly, and off the turn, Mike, you just know he's going to win by a pole, right?
Yeah, sure felt like it. And then he got the lead and decided he wasn't interested in winning by a pole. Interesting race here. I mean, it again sits so comfortably the whole way around. I think that was one of the big keys here. Is the horse showed the ability to be able to stalk at 2 turns, be able to sit off the pace, and then go get a horse. Got to get more focused in the lane, because it just felt like as soon as Change of Command took the lead, he was disinterested in running at that point, and that's not something that's good, because you have to really time your opinion if you're going to be able to do it. We'll see. As your 5th round pick, I'm very happy with this performance, right?
Third.
I think 3rd round pick. Okay, well, not as happy with the performance then, but still happy with the performance even as a 3rd round pick. You're going to go to stakes after this. It'll be interesting to see what he does. You mentioned the blinkers thing. I think that is probably something Change of Command needs. Yeah,
I was watching this race live with Aaron and Jared, and right about here, we're like the whole way, we're like, wow, he's so professional. He's just clicking off those easy cruising, like 12-second, just under 12-second furlongs. It's like, this is great. This is what you want to see. And right here, he's got the lead. And like the 1's all out. And Jose Ortiz on the 3s. He's just now going to start using him. And it's like right here, he should take off. He should take off. Why aren't you taking off from him? It's like, and then he starts going to the whip. And I was like, shit, this is going to be so embarrassing. But he held on. I swear he needs blinkers. Like, as soon as he got the lead, he kept that advantage. He didn't pull away, but he also didn't really let the 1 come back on him until super late. And by that point, Jose had already stopped hitting him. So, yeah, I don't know. It was a 1. The 1 horse was a nice debut winner, an okay debut winner for Todd Pletcher. But I think we both wanted to see something more out of this 3. It is Shug, so you know he's going to handle this horse well, but this also took this horse several times to get the maiden broken, and like you said, this has been 5 starts. We would hope to see something a little bit better out of this horse. So,
yeah, I mean, did face Fierceness in his first career race. That was over the slop. Faced Sierra Leone, lost by a length and a quarter. 2 races back at Aqueduct. That was his 3rd career race. So, at least lost to good horses when you're going up through the ranks. I think blinkers would make a big difference here. That to me is the what you got to do. And again, I think Change of Command could make the gate in the Derby, and I think he'll have a say in some of these Florida preps. This isn't your Derby winner, though, unless we see big steps forward here. Both Change of Command and Cardinal get 83 buyers for this effort, both career best buyers for them. Cardinal took a huge step forward off of a 6-furlong sprint to run this big of a race here. Really dug in well. Change of Command got the buyer improvement, got a career best buyer. Just didn't put him away the way that you want a horse that you have on your fantasy team to put that horse away.
Yeah. Fantasy purposes, we're happy about it because we got the 5 points for the win, and we now have 2 horses that have run okay at Gulfstream Park, the other one being First World War, which ironically you thought this was our 5th round pick. You wanted to take First World War in the 3rd round, and I made you take this horse instead. So it's good that they both run well, at least that we got that going for us. But one last note on the one horse. It is a Pletcher. It's not have Irad on it. Irad's on the 6, and I don't know if the Irad had actually ridden the 6 before in a race. So yes, he beat a Pletcher, but he beat a Pletcher that Irad wasn't riding. So not in love with that fact either. But again, it's Shug really hoping that he brings the horse along professionally. We saw with Code of Honor what he could do with some really talented horses. JD says he's staring at the shadows all the way home with his head down, and he needs a shadow roll. See, JD, this is why I got you, and why we love having you around, because I don't know the difference between those, but that is a great point. I just know shadow roll is always blue on the Baffert horses, and I just always assumed that's where he's hid the extra drugs that kind of made them go fast. Like, you wonder how a Baffert horse always manages to re-break when they get really sweaty. I just thought it, like the sweat absorbed in the shadow roll, it just absorbed it back into the blood and off it went. But apparently it serves another purpose too.
I just assumed it was for aesthetics.
It does look pretty. That is absolutely the case. Speaking of pretty, boy, this filly's awfully pretty. Winner of the Santa Ynez Stakes here. Kopion. Now, she didn't beat jack shit. We know that. But when you face jack shit and you win the way that she does, you still got to take your hat off to her, Mike.
Yeah, well, then that's the key. Like, you can say you haven't played anyone, right? You hear it all the time in sports. Haven't faced anybody in horse racing. Well, just look really good when you're beating a bunch of nobodies, and I'm going to be pretty high on you, because that's a big part of it. Is do you just take care of your business in the manner that you should? And man, Kopion 100% did that here. Breaks really well, gets right to the top, and just absolutely puts them away down the lane. Never gets asked. Gets an 86 buyer, improving off the 83 buyer on debut. She looks like a runner. We'll see what happens when we stretch out to 2 turns here, but she looked awfully good.
Doc saying Kopion looks like a nice filly, and he used the PH. I was just thinking of Jarrett's video when he ranked Hoosier Filly as one of the most disappointing horses last year. So maybe Doc was thinking the same thing. And Rodney's saying just FYI, and Kopion will run 1-2 in the Oaks. It's so hard this early to make that prediction, but Mandela does tend to have a really good looking filly this time of year. You just hope that she stays healthy. But I mean, look, off the turn, Precious giving her shaking the reins. He knows it. He's got this one. Yeah, Tamra could be good. It's funny about Tamra, by the way, that Doc brings up in the chat. Mandela said the only time this horse has not worked well in the morning ever was the time that he worked her with Tamara. And he's like, yeah, no, not doing that again. She got really pissed off working with Tamra. And so we kept them separated after that. That makes me think also Tamara might come back and still be something good. She just had that one bad race in the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at Fierceness. Like, who's your Derby favorite right now everywhere. It had one bad race, and then you get 19-1 on Fierceness, and now 11-1 to win the Derby, a lower price than what he won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile at.
Look at that, Team Mandela. Love to see that. Pratt was had lots of praise for her. Said that he's always excited when he gets to come back to California and ride for Richard Mandela and these horses. He always knows it's going to be a good one. So, as former owners of Tiz the Magician, we agree with you. As far as the buyer goes, she got an 86, I believe. Yeah, so a really nice buyer here. And again, only her second career start. She's going to stretch out probably next time. So, a lot to love with this filly as well. Just FYI, I guess, is the clubhouse leader, but Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies winners traditionally do horribly when they come back at 3. I think Echo Zula was the last one that actually did anything, and she was a sprinter. So she wasn't an Oaks horse. She was a sprinter that had enough speed to beat most of them. So
I was not a believer in just FYI all last year. So I will probably take a non-believer stance headed into the 3-year-old season now as well.
Yeah. Well, that was a quick show as far as the horse racing goes. Not a whole lot to talk about. And, of course, coming up this weekend, we have nothing. No Derby preps this week. We do have the Busanda Stakes at Aqueduct. Probably be a short field of five or 6 fillies going 9 furlongs at Aqueduct. So we've got that to look forward to. But, yeah, not a whole lot else to talk about with this. However, some big things to talk about, including tonight, University of Michigan. Can Jim Harbaugh get that national championship and get the hell out of college football and back to the NFL, Mike?
Well, he will be out of college football. I've been saying it like this is his last year for months now, and I think it's pretty much solidified. And if he wins, it's 100% going to be his last game at Michigan. I took a little Washington plus 4.5. I'm not overly confident in it, but I just want a little bit of action on the game. So for me, it's Washington plus 4.5. I think both these teams have significant edges on the offensive side of the ball. Michigan should be able to like move that Washington defensive line off the line pretty easily and be able to run the football pretty easily. On the other side, this is going to be the best secondary and the best wide receiving set that we have seen the Michigan secondary take on. I think Penix has success against them as long as they can protect, and that's going to be the key. Can the Washington offensive line hold up against the Michigan defensive line? If so, I think it's going to be very, very tight. And Penix's prop right now sitting at 292.5 yards passing. His touchdown prop, 1.5 touchdowns. If you parlay the two together, you can get plus 135. Like that one quite a bit. Is Penix over his passing total, over 1.5 yards. Played a little bit of Blake Corum over 103.5 yards rushing as well. Like I said, I think they're going to be able to push around that Washington defensive line. So I think it's going to be a fun game. I'm very interested in watching this, not betting a crazy amount on it. What are your thoughts here?
Well, first of all, I agree. Yeah, Jim Harbaugh going to go to the LA Chargers. Makes sense. He does well in California with that mentality, and the Chargers are just a mess. The only reason he wouldn't go to the Chargers is those owners are extremely cheap. So I'm not sure how that would work. If he goes there, it's not going to last long. Maybe 3 seasons tops.
Keep an eye on the Falcons.
Ooh, see, that would be better. I don't even know who the Falcons have. I just think that's better because it's not the Chargers ownership. Rob always going with my dudes who bet daily argument. What's the mascot fight going to be? Wolverine versus Husky is an interesting fight. I give it a shotty. I think a Wolverine could beat up a Husky pretty easily because a Wolverine is agile and quick and he's small, and the Husky is kind of big and bulky, and if the Wolverine just runs circles around him, the Husky will be chasing his tail, and the Wolverine goes right in for the kill. So give me Michigan Wolverines. Also, I'm a Michigan guy, so a little bit biased. I'm from Michigan. I'm not a Michigan guy. I'm not that, no.
You're not a Michigan man? Aren't you a Michigan State guy?
I prefer Michigan State over Michigan because it's the the one time that they ever beat them. It's like, hey, we beat you guys, and like if you beat us, it's like, well, you were supposed to.
Yeah, I can't ever root for Michigan. I just can't. I just don't like.
That's
Michigan.
fine.
I don't like them. I generally just dislike the entire Big Ten because I lived in Chicago and I had to hear about how good the Big Ten was every year, and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, dude, the Big Ten's not very good. You're going to get waxed when we get to bowl season. And guess what happened? They get waxed every time they go to bowl season. Now, Michigan outplayed Alabama. Got to give them credit where credit is due. But this is a different battle that you're going to take on here, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. It's really all about, can Michigan control the ball on the ground and just not let Penix get on the field enough? And then when he is on, do you have one of those mistakes where that takes away a drive, takes away 6-7 minutes, where Michigan has the football again and they're able to grind down on the clock? So, yeah, going to be an interesting to see how this plays out. But I'm on the Washington side. I also would like to see Washington win, and when I'm not betting a lot of money, I'm going to also root for the team that I actually want to win.
I mean, that's fair. I could understand a lot of the Michigan hate. Dr. Tang is saying he's torn. Mike, he's torn. One of his groomsmen is a U of Michigan alum, and Tyler Hoffman, good friend of the show, is a Washington alum. I did not know he went to Washington.
Yeah, he's a Husky.
If you've met Tyler is like the opposite of Husky. He's got like 0.3% body fat, I think. But he is a Husky in terms of his college affiliateship. Over at racenews.com, the final free college football pick of the season. They're split too. U of M for Aaron Halchman, Washington for Papa Dude. And if you don't have anybody to watch the game with tonight, don't worry. Papa Dude and Aaron, they're going to be live during the show. They're so happy that Texas didn't make it this far so they could actually do the live show. So join them here on the YouTube channel. They're going live in about an hour, so 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern. Just come in, join the chat, have a lot of fun. Lots of shenanigans always happen in that, so love to see you for that one. Mike, I know you were... What's that?
We did that last year. It was just brutal because the Georgia was up 21 before you blinked your eye.
Yeah, that was
all
really
right.
fun.
I think we stopped at half because it's like this isn't even close anymore. And we were talking it was great game, and we ball bet the first half, first quarter. Georgia over team total, all that fun stuff. But it was not a fun watch along game. This is going to be a fun watch along game because you're going to have some big plays in this game, a lot of intrigue. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, so it should be a good game tonight.
Shotty says Logan Wolverine versus a sled team of Huskies.
I mean, Logan Wolverine would tear up. If you're going X-Men Wolverine, he wins every battle against any type of Husky that you can come up with.
Even a sled team. I mean, really, because of his love for animals and his animalistic nature, I think if he was facing a sled team, he would hop on the sled and let them drive around while he just slashes everybody else like to pieces. Like he just, drive me around. I'm going to kill all these bitches that tried to make us fight.
So if it was 5 Wolverines against 5 Huskies, you still taking the Wolverines to win? I feel like having the additional Huskies gives them more of an edge.
It does. If it's 1-on-1, I'm going with the agile, quick, small animal. But if it's 5 of them, they can easily team up like 2-on-1 and then just like knock them out that way. So it really does. It does make a difference. Yeah. Shadi said she's excited for the stream. We're excited about that one too. Did you have any final thoughts from Vegas from this past weekend as far as the NFL goes? The Detroit Lions getting screwed against the Cowboys, somehow set up for the fairy tale story that Matt Stafford and the Rams now come to Detroit for the first game that the Lions have hosted in 30 years in the playoffs. And I don't know what to think about that.
These storylines are phenomenal. Like you've got the 2 Coach of the Year candidates, number 1 and number 2, Stefanski and DeMeco Ryans taking on each other in the early Saturday game. Then Saturday night, you've got Tyreek Hill headed back to Kansas City. On Sunday, you've got, like you said, Goff and Stafford going at it, traded for each other, both going into the playoffs. That should be a lot of fun. You've got Mike McCarthy against the Cowboys, and that one's another one that's going to be a ton of fun. Just can't wait to see how he screws it up. And
Yep.
I think one of the most interesting things is where's the chaos? Is it NFC or AFC? Because one of these things is going to be a total shit show, and it will not be Baltimore against San Francisco. And you could have some random team making it. I think it's the AFC. I think the Browns are going to knock off Baltimore next week. And that would create – but now if Miami beats Kansas City – Miami most likely goes to Baltimore, and that kind of gives a reprieve. But Flacco going in and knocking the Browns out, I think would be – or knocking the Ravens out, I think would be a phenomenal story. But one of these 2 conferences is going to be absolutely chaotic. And when you think about it, like if the Ravens or the Niners lose, every other team, you could make a legitimate argument for why they're going to be able to get to the Super Bowl. There is not a single team in the playoffs where you're like, nope, they have no chance if that 1 seed goes down. And so – going to be a phenomenal couple weeks. Can't wait to be able to be in Vegas for each of the playoff games and kind of break those down. So going to be a lot of fun here in the NFL. I already bet the Browns -2. I already took the over in that game. There was some 43.5. Played over. That's at 44.5 now. I'd wait to see if we can get a 44, but still like the over in that one quite a bit. I played Miami +3.5. I think I said this last night on Twitter. As a Miami fan, I would rather go to Kansas City than play at home against Buffalo again. We are an awful matchup against Buffalo, and that Kansas City offense is still broken. And yes, they could absolutely beat us, but I feel like there is a better chance Miami beats Kansas City than beats Buffalo.
Did you ever think in the last 2 years that there would be a world where both the Lions and the Dolphins were in the playoffs at the same time? No, I didn't. This is crazy.
I especially when you guys got Jared Goff, I was like, oh, okay, that's just a bonehead trade. But Ben Johnson's been phenomenal as an offensive coordinator for you. And now the Dolphins have Mike McDaniel and has really turned that franchise around as well. So who knows, man? We'll see. The Lions offseason is going to be one of the most interesting offseasons to watch because you should fire Dan Campbell and promote Ben Johnson to the head coach. Zero chance it happens. But you're going to lose Ben Johnson in the offseason. And even if you get an elite offensive mind, that's going to make Dan Campbell successful again, and he's going to go in 1 or 2 off seasons because he is going to become a hot head coaching candidate. And so you're always going to have to figure out how can we fill this offensive void with your rah-rah, I'm going to go on tilt and go for 2 from the 7-yard line, Dan Campbell is your head coach.
I mean, I'd said that the ref screwed the Lions in the Cowboys game, but whenever a game comes down to one final decision like that, and that's what decides it, there were a ton of times, that tells me you had a ton of chances earlier in the game, the whole game to try and win it, and you didn't do it. You just nailed one of those right there. So I'm not as up in arms as like a lot of Lions fans were about that. I thought it was stupid, but I was like, you had chances to win that anyway, and you didn't.
Yeah, I mean, and they broke down the play on NFL Sunday Countdown. I think it was on Saturday. I thought Rex Ryan did a really good job of explaining kind of what happened. Like, you're supposed to report as eligible or ineligible by signal, not by talking to the referee, because it's in a stadium that has the chance to be loud. And like the signal for eligible reporting is putting your hand across your chest with your arm up. Well, number 70 runs onto the field with his fist like this and like has his hand like this, and that means jumbo package 2 linemen on the strong side from the Detroit Lions playbook side. But it's what the referee thought was reporting eligible because he ran right over to the referee in the group of those 3 guys. And 68 never does the eligible sign. He goes over and verbally tells the referee that he's eligible. And so that there's a reason there was so much confusion in and around that play.
Related. Curtis Nail says people act like Aaron Glenn, a man who cost the Lions a primetime game because he didn't know you couldn't call a timeout immediately coming out of a timeout. It's a viable head coaching candidate. I even knew that rule.
I mean, Mike McCarthy looked like he didn't realize you could go for 2 when the Lions went for 2. He looked confused that they were even going for 2 before that play. He was just like dumbfounded that this was a thing that you could do in the NFL. So you never know with the NFL. I mean, Arthur Smith got a job, and a lot of people really liked him when he went down to Atlanta, and that's been fortunately that train wreck is over now. There's some weird decisions that go out there that get on the airwaves from people who are well thought of in the NFL community, and I could not disagree more with what they're saying in a lot of situations.
We actually have that Rex Ryan clip that you were talking about.
Listen, I'm a toe expert. Let's just say this. There ain't nothing wrong with Aaron Rodgers. He threw for 3.
Sorry, that's a different clip. My bad.
No problem. Anytime you go back to the Rex Ryan toe jokes, let's do it.
We're always towing the line with those ones. Over at racingdudes.com, you can check out the latest Kentucky Derby news and updates, including Aaron's top 20. We have the top 5 video at youtube.com/racingdudes. Check that out as well. This little icon right here, Tappet Trice, topped Jared's list of the top 5 most disappointing horse racing performances from 2023. It's all in good fun, mostly. Go check that out. No surprise, right? If anybody knows Jared, they know how much he thought this horse was going to win the Kentucky Derby and win the Belmont Stakes. And you can hear Jared talk about it. He understands now why he was wrong. Mike, we tried telling him. You tried telling him.
I literally tried to tell him who was going to win the Derby, and he didn't listen. Told everybody he was going to win the Derby. Some people listened. Jared did not. Did you play the Forget You song in the background of that?
No, I didn't, because we would have gotten copyright stricken by like crazy. But yes,
that song started playing in my head immediately when I saw "Forget You" right there.
So the thumbnail for the YouTube, it does say "Forget You" and "Forget Her Too," because number 2 is Nest. So I thought it was actually pretty fitting there. Nice. And I just love this picture of Tappet Trice when he was getting a bath during Derby week. The side eye looking at you like, "Don't bet on me. Whatever you do, don't bet on me." And yeah.
That's what Mike McCarthy looked like when he found out he could go for 2. It's like, what's this craziness?
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with Mike and I. And if you were a part of the live show, we really appreciate all the comments and all the discussion in there. Join us every Monday and Thursday. Normal time is 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific. But make sure you follow us on Twitter in case there are going to be times where that gets moved around for schedule purposes. I'm at Curtis Kalleward. He is at Somobomb 18, number 1, number 8, Corporate Overlords at Racing_Dudes. Again, less than an hour, it's going to be Papa Dude and Aaron covering live the College Football National Championship game. If you want to do some in-game betting, then we're talking about that a lot as well. So tune in for that. Any final words before we get out of here, Mr. Somich?
Looking forward to tonight. Going to be a fun game, and then we're going to have to figure out where we're going. I just looked at the state schedule for next weekend as well. I mean, maybe Santa Anita, we'll have to see how the fields turn out. Looks like there's at least a couple stakes races, couple dirt, couple turf. So we'll have to figure out where we're going, but it does not look like a beautiful card next week.
Yeah, I sent out the assignments this week for what everybody's doing, and I was like, well, Dr. Miranda covers the Oak, so she gets the Busanda.
Yep.
And Aaron's going to do it's Cal Cup Day at Santa Ynez, so 5 California bred stakes, including the Cal Cup Derby. So what Aaron's going to do is just his best bets for Cal Cup Day. So tune in for that one at the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe so that you never miss one of our videos when they come out. But until Thursday, for Mike and I returning, whatever we cover, we'll let you know. I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike, and wondering, what do you think the field sizes for Cal Cup will be?
Average 7.5. Oh, I should have said 6.9. I missed an opportunity. I'd say 7.5.
Okay.
That's turf races.
Better than normal.
Turf races, yeah. We'll see you next time. See ya.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by racingdudes.com.